Imagine this. A millionaire dad rushes to the hospital to see his sick adopted daughter, but what he catches his wife doing will shock you to your core. Williams Morgan pushed open the hospital room door, and what he saw in that split second would break him in ways he didn't know a man could break. He wasn't supposed to catch her. Katherina had only been in the hospital for a few hours. Exhaustion and dehydration, the school nurse said. Scary but treatable. Williams had been there when they admitted her, held her small hand, whispered that Daddy would be right back. His wife Brenda had volunteered to stay. Go handle your calls, she'd said sweetly. I'll watch over her. He trusted her. So when Williams wrapped up his conference call early and decided to surprise them both with Katherina's favorite stuffed bear, a worn brown teddy she'd had since the adoption, he walked into St. Michael's Hospital with nothing but gratitude in his heart. The pediatric wing was quiet that afternoon. Sunlight poured through the tall windows, painting the hallway in soft gold. He smiled at a passing nurse, clutched the little bear a little tighter, and headed toward room 214. That's when he heard it. A muffled struggle, the frantic, jarring beep of a heart monitor spiking. His stomach dropped. Williams's hand hit the door, pushing it open, and time fractured. Brenda stood over Katherina's bed, both hands gripping the clear oxygen mask, pulling it away from their daughter's face. Katherina's small body twisted weakly beneath the white sheets, her fingers twitching, her chest heaving in desperate, silent gasps for air she couldn't get. And Brenda's face, God. Her face was twisted into something he'd never seen before. Rage, contempt, something cold and decided. Her lips moved, forming words barely louder than a hiss. You should have never come into this family. The teddy bear hit the floor. What are you doing? His voice ripped through the room like a gunshot. Brenda's head snapped toward him. Her eyes went wide, not with shame but with shock. Shock that he was there. The mask dropped from her hands. Katherina's chest lurched, pulling in a ragged, broken gasp. For one impossible second, Williams couldn't move, couldn't think, couldn't reconcile the woman he'd planned to spend his life with. The woman who smiled at investors, who hosted charity brunches, who kissed him goodnight, with the woman standing over his daughter's dying body. This was Brenda, the woman he married, the woman he trusted with his home, his future, his child. But the woman staring back at him now, eyes wild, hands trembling, chest heaving, wasn't the woman he knew at all. And in that moment, Williams realized something that would change everything. He had no idea who he'd been sleeping beside. But wait, before we dive deeper into this chilling story, do me a favor on Once Upon a Voice. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on notifications so you never miss a story that hits this hard. And drop a comment right now. Have you ever discovered something about someone you loved that completely shattered your view of them? Because sometimes God lets us see the truth just in time, before it's too late. Williams's body moved before his mind caught up. He lunged forward, crossing the room in 2 long strides, and shoved Brenda back hard, placing himself between her and Katherina like a wall she'd have to go through to finish what she'd started. His hands found his daughter's face, tilting it gently toward him. Katherina, Katherina, baby, look at me. Breathe. Just breathe. Her eyes fluttered open, confused, terrified, searching his face like she wasn't sure if he was real. Her lips trembled. She tried to speak, but nothing came out except those awful broken little sounds. The heart monitor screamed. It's okay, Williams whispered, smoothing her dark curls back from her damp forehead. His voice cracked. I'm here. You're safe now. I'm here. Behind him, Brenda stood frozen against the wall, her chest heaving, her hands still shaped like they were holding something she'd dropped. She stared at Williams cradling Katherina, at the little girl's fingers weakly clutching his sleeve, and for just a moment she looked almost surprised, like she hadn't expected him to walk through that door, like she'd thought she had more time. Williams didn't look at her. He couldn't. If he did, he didn't know what he'd do. Katherina's breathing started to slow just a little. Her grip on his arm tightened, and when her eyes finally focused on his face, really focused, a single tear slipped down her small cheek. Daddy, I've got you, he said, his voice breaking. I've got you, baby. The door burst open. 2 nurses rushed in, their eyes sweeping the room, taking in the screaming monitor, Katherina gasping for air, Williams hovering over her protectively. Brenda backed into the corner. One nurse moved immediately to Katherina's side, checking her vitals, adjusting her oxygen. The other glanced between Williams and Brenda, her expression hardening. What happened here? Williams's jaw clenched. He turned slowly, and for the first time since the mask had fallen, he looked at Brenda. Really looked at her. She was pale, shaking, her perfectly styled hair disheveled, her silk blouse wrinkled. But it was her eyes that stopped him cold. They weren't filled with remorse. They weren't filled with horror at what she'd almost done. They were filled with fear. Not fear for Katherina. Fear for herself. Williams's voice came out low, steady, deadly calm. She tried to kill her. I walked in and she was holding the oxygen mask off my daughter's face. The nurse's eyes widened. The second nurse immediately stepped toward the door, speaking quietly into the radio clipped to her scrubs. Security. Brenda's mouth opened. No, that's not Williams. You don't understand. I saw you. She was struggling to breathe. I was trying to help her sit up. I didn't know what to do. I panicked. You were smothering her. No, I saw you, Brenda. His voice didn't rise. He didn't shout, but the words landed like stones. Heavy, unmovable. Brenda's face crumpled. She pressed her back harder against the wall, her hands coming up like she wanted to reach for him but didn't dare. Williams, please. Please just listen to me. She was going to ruin every. She stopped. The room went silent. Even the heart monitor seemed to quiet, its frantic beeping slowing to a steadier rhythm as Katherina's oxygen returned. Williams stared at her. What did you just say? Brenda's eyes darted to the nurses, to the door, back to Williams. Her lips trembled. I didn't mean. What did you just say? She shook her head, pressing her lips together. But the words had already escaped, and they hung in the air between them like smoke, visible, undeniable, poisonous. She was going to ruin everything. Two security guards appeared in the doorway, their presence filling the small room. One of them stepped forward, his hand resting casually near his belt. Ma'am, we're going to need you to come with us. Brenda's eyes snapped to Williams, wide, pleading, desperate. Williams, don't do this. We can talk about this. Just you and me, please. He didn't answer. One of the guards moved closer. Ma'am, I love you. Brenda's voice broke, raw and frantic. I did this because I love you. Don't you see that? Williams turned away from her. He sat down slowly in the chair beside Katherina's bed and took her small hand in both of his. He didn't watch as they led Brenda out, didn't flinch when her voice rose in the corridor, pleading, sobbing, insisting this was all a misunderstanding. He just held his daughter's hand and tried to breathe. The room felt smaller now, quieter. Katherina's breathing had steadied, but her hand still gripped Williams like she was afraid to let go. Her eyes stayed fixed on his face, not saying anything, just watching him, making sure he was real, making sure he was staying. I'm not going anywhere, Williams said softly, though he wasn't sure if he was reassuring her or himself. A doctor rushed in, flanked by another nurse. She moved quickly to Katherina's bedside, checking the monitors, examining her throat, her pulse, her eyes. Williams stood but didn't step away. He stayed close enough that Katherina could still reach for him if she needed to. Katherina, sweetheart, can you hear me? The doctor asked gently. Katherina nodded. The movement was weak, but it was there. Can you tell me what happened? Katherina's mouth opened. Her voice came out thin and rasping. She was. Don't, Williams said, his hand finding hers again. Don't push yourself. Just rest. The doctor's eyes shifted to Williams. She didn't need to ask. The nurses had already told her. Down the corridor, Brenda's voice carried, sharp, frantic, echoing off the sterile walls. You're making a mistake. He doesn't understand. That girl has been poisoning him against me for years. Williams closed his eyes. The doctor finished her examination and stepped back, her expression carefully neutral. She's going to be okay physically, but we'll need to keep her another night for observation. Williams nodded, unable to find words. Mr. Morgan, the doctor said quietly, glancing toward the door where Brenda's voice had finally faded. The police are going to want to speak with you and with Katherina when she's ready. I know. The doctor placed a gentle hand on his shoulder just for a moment and then she left. The room settled into a strange, heavy silence. William sank back into the chair, elbows on his knees, head in his hands. His mind kept replaying it. The door opening. The mask in her hands. Katherina's fingers clawing weakly for air. Brenda's face twisted into something unrecognizable. How long had she been standing there? How close had Katherina come? 5 more minutes, maybe less. If he hadn't finished his call early, if he hadn't decided to bring the bear, if he hadn't felt that pull in his chest telling him something was wrong, his daughter would be dead. Daddy! Katherina's voice was barely a whisper, but it cut through the noise in his head like a blade. He looked up. Her eyes were glassy with tears, but there was something else there too. Something that looked like guilt. I'm sorry. Williams's face crumpled. Baby, no, don't. I should have told you sooner. Her words came slow, each one an effort. The way she looked at me sometimes. The things she said when you weren't there. I knew, but I didn't want you to be sad. I didn't want you to think I was making it up. Stop. Williams's voice broke. He leaned forward, taking both her small hands in his. This is not your fault. Do you hear me? None of this is your fault. A tear slipped down Katherina's cheek. I almost died because I didn't want to hurt your feelings. Williams's chest tightened. He pressed his forehead gently against her hands, his shoulders shaking. You tried to tell me, he whispered. You did, and I didn't listen. They stayed like that for a long time. Father and daughter, holding on to each other in a hospital room that still smelled faintly of fear and flowers scattered across the floor. Outside the window the sun was setting. The city lights were beginning to flicker on one by one like stars waking up. And somewhere down the hall, behind locked doors and security guards, the woman Williams had planned to build a life with was telling anyone who would listen that she'd done it all for love. If you've ever felt unheard by someone who was supposed to protect you, pause for a second and drop a comment on Once Upon a Voice. Sometimes the bravest thing a person can do is finally speak their truth. Even when they're terrified no one will listen. The police came an hour later. 2 officers, a man and a woman, stood at the foot of Katherina's bed, notepads in hand, voices gentle but direct. They asked Williams to walk them through it, every detail. What time he arrived, what he saw, what Brenda said. Williams answered mechanically, his voice flat, hollow. But when they asked to speak with Katherina, something inside him snapped to attention. She needs to rest. We understand, Mr. Morgan, the female officer said. But we need her statement while the details are fresh. Katherina squeezed Williams's hand. It's okay, Daddy. She told them what she remembered. Brenda visiting that afternoon, the small talk that felt strained. And then without warning Brenda's face changing, hardening into something Katherina didn't recognize. She said I was in the way, Katherina whispered, her voice so small it barely carried. The officers exchanged a glance. In the way of what, sweetheart? Katherina closed her eyes. Her future. William sat in the hallway outside Katherina's room long after the officers left. His head rested against the cold wall, eyes closed, mind racing backward through 4 years of memories he thought he understood. But now every single one of them felt like a lie. 4 years ago, Williams had been 31, driven, successful, lonely. He'd built Morgan Global Tech from the ground up, turned it into an empire worth hundreds of millions. But money didn't fill the silence in his penthouse. It didn't answer him when he came home at night. He'd always wanted children. But after 2 failed relationships and a string of women more interested in his portfolio than his person, Williams had accepted that fatherhood might not be in the cards. Until the day he walked into Bright Future's foster home. He'd gone there as part of a corporate charity initiative, writing a check, shaking hands, taking photos for the company website. He wasn't supposed to stay. But then he saw her, a little girl 6 years old sitting alone in the corner of the playroom, clutching a worn brown teddy bear, watching the other kids with wide, cautious eyes. She didn't run up to him like the others. Didn't perform. Didn't smile on command. She just watched. Williams knelt down beside her. Hi, I'm Williams. What's your name? She looked at him for a long moment, like she was deciding whether he was safe. Then quietly, Katherina. That's a beautiful name. She didn't answer, just hugged the bear a little tighter. Is that your friend? She nodded. Does your friend have a name? Brownie. Williams smiled. Nice to meet you, Brownie. For the first time, Katherina's lips twitched, almost a smile. and something in Williams's chest cracked wide open. He learned her story later that day. Katherina had been in the system since she was 3. Her mother had died of an overdose. No father listed, no extended family willing to take her. She'd been shuffled through 4 homes in 3 years. Quiet, well-behaved, easy to overlook. She's a sweet kid, the caseworker said. But she's been passed over a lot. People want babies or kids who are more outgoing. Williams looked through the glass window into the playroom. Katherina was still sitting in the corner, still holding Brownie, still waiting. What does she need? The caseworker blinked. I'm sorry. To be adopted. What does she need, Mr. Morgan? The process is, it's complicated. There are home studies, background checks, interviews. I'll do all of it. It could take months. I don't care. The caseworker stared at him. You're serious? Williams looked at Katherina again. She glanced up. Their eyes met, and she gave him the smallest, most fragile smile. Yes, Williams said. I'm serious. Took 11 months. 11 months of paperwork, interviews, home inspections, psychological evaluations. But the day Williams brought Katherina home, the day she walked into the penthouse, looked around with wide eyes and whispered, "This is really mine?" He knew it was worth every second. "This is ours," Williams corrected gently. "You're home now, sweetheart, and you're never leaving." She cried that night, not sad tears, relief. Williams held her on the couch, her small body curled into his chest, and whispered promises into her hair. "You're safe. You're loved. You're mine." And he meant every word. Brenda came into the picture 8 months later. Williams met her at a charity gala. Elegant, poised, charming, a corporate attorney with her own success, her own world. She didn't need his money. And when he told her about Katherina, she smiled warmly. "That's incredible, Williams. Truly, the world needs more men like you." She met Katherina a few weeks later, brought her a gift, a beautiful new doll. Katherina accepted it politely, but later that night she whispered to Williams, "I like Brownie better." Williams laughed. "Me too, baby." He didn't see the way Brenda's smile had tightened when Katherina chose the old bear over the expensive doll. He didn't notice the way Brenda's eyes lingered on Katherina, not with warmth but with something colder. Calculation. When Williams proposed a year later, Brenda said yes immediately. She threw herself into wedding planning, smiled for every photo, played the role of loving stepmother-to-be at every event. But Katherina started having nightmares. She'd wake up crying, calling for Williams. "What's wrong, baby?" "I don't know. I got scared." Scared of what? She wouldn't say. Williams assumed it was adjustment anxiety. A new woman in the house. Changes to routines. "Brenda loves you," he'd say, stroking her hair. "She's going to be part of our family." Katherina would nod. But she never looked convinced. The wedding was beautiful. Brenda glowed. Williams felt like the luckiest man alive. But during the reception, Williams found Katherina hiding under a table in the corner, clutching Brownie, tears streaming down her face. "Sweetheart, what happened?" "Nothing." "Baby, talk to me." She looked up at him, and for just a second he saw something in her eyes that terrified him. Fear. "Do you still love me?" Williams's heart broke. "Of course I do. Why would you ask me that?" "Because now you have her." "Hey, listen to me." He knelt down, taking her small face in his hands. "You are my daughter forever. Nothing and no one will ever change that. Do you understand?" She nodded. But the fear didn't leave her eyes. And Williams, too caught up in the joy of the day, didn't see the shadow standing in the doorway, Brenda watching, her smile gone, her eyes cold. Over the next 3 years the changes were subtle. Brenda started making little comments. "Does Katherina really need to come to the investor dinner? She's so shy. It might be awkward. Maybe we should think about boarding school. Give her more structure." "Williams, people are asking questions about, the adoption." Williams shut it down every time. But he started working more, trusting Brenda to handle things at home, and Katherina grew quieter. She stopped mentioning Brenda, stopped complaining, just withdrew. Williams told himself it was normal puberty adjustment. But last week he'd found Katherina crying in her room. "What's wrong?" "Nothing, baby. I'm fine, Daddy." "Really?" She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. And 2 days later she collapsed at school. Williams opened his eyes. The hallway was empty now, silent. A nurse walked past, gave him a sympathetic look, kept moving. He thought about all the signs, the nightmares, the fear, the silence, Brenda's comments, her suggestions, her smiles that never quite reached Katherina, and he realized something that made him feel sick. Katherina had been trying to tell him. She just didn't have the words, and he hadn't been listening. Williams stood slowly, his legs shaking. He walked back into Katherina's room. She was asleep now, her small chest rising and falling steadily. Brownie sat on the pillow beside her. Williams picked up the bear, held it gently, and for the first time in years, he let himself cry. Williams woke to the sound of his phone buzzing. He hadn't meant to fall asleep. He'd pulled the chair as close to Katherina's bed as possible, her small hand still wrapped in his, and somewhere in the early hours of the morning, exhaustion had finally taken him. Now pale dawn light filtered through the hospital blinds. Katherina was still asleep, her breathing steady, and his phone wouldn't stop ringing. Williams glanced at the screen. Brenda's attorney. He let it go to voicemail. It rang again immediately. Brenda's sister. Declined. Unknown number. Unknown number. Unknown number. Williams turned the phone off and set it face down on the table. He wasn't ready for the world outside this room yet. Wasn't ready to hear Brenda's excuses, her justifications, her twisted version of what he'd seen with his own eyes. All that mattered was the little girl sleeping in the bed in front of him. The little girl he'd almost lost. The little girl he'd failed. A soft knock on the door pulled him from his thoughts. A nurse stepped in. Not one of the ones from yesterday. This woman was older, her graying hair pulled back in a neat bun. Her eyes kind but cautious. "Mr. Morgan." Williams nodded. "I'm Helen. I'm on the morning shift. Just need to check Katherina's vitals." "Of course." Helen moved quietly around the bed, checking monitors, adjusting the 4-drip, her movements gentle and practiced. But Williams noticed the way her eyes kept flicking to him, like she wanted to say something. "Is everything okay?" he asked quietly. Helen hesitated, then glanced at the door, making sure it was closed. "Mr. Morgan, can I ask you something?" "Yes." "How long has your wife been Katherina's primary caregiver?" Williams frowned. "What do you mean?" Helen set down her clipboard. "The bruising on Katherina's upper arms. It's consistent with being grabbed tightly. And there are older marks, faded but still visible." Williams's blood went cold. "What?" And her reaction when she woke up last night, she kept saying, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry." Like she thought she'd done something wrong. Helen's voice softened. "Mr. Morgan, I've been a pediatric nurse for 23 years. I know what fear looks like in a child. And that little girl is terrified." Williams couldn't breathe. "Why didn't anyone say anything? We documented it. But without evidence of acute abuse and with a child who won't talk, our hands are tied. We can file a report, but unless the child discloses or a parent speaks up." She trailed off. Williams looked at Katherina sleeping so peacefully now. Her small body so fragile beneath the thin hospital blanket. "She tried to tell me," he whispered. "She tried and I didn't listen." Helen placed a hand on his shoulder. "You're listening now." An hour later a detective arrived. Detective Lisa Brennan, mid-40s, sharp eyes, no-nonsense demeanor. She sat across from Williams in a small consultation room down the hall, a voice recorder on the table between them. "Mr. Morgan, I need you to walk me through everything again. From the beginning." Williams did every detail. The phone call from the school, racing to the hospital, Brenda insisting she'd stay alone with Katherina, walking in and seeing her hands on the oxygen mask, the words she'd hissed at their unconscious daughter. "You should have never come into this family." Detective Brennan didn't react. Just took notes. "And you're certain about what you saw?" "I know what I saw. Your wife is claiming it was a misunderstanding. That Katherina's mask had slipped and she was trying to adjust it. That you startled her." Williams's jaw clenched. "That's a lie. She's also claiming that you've been under a lot of stress, that you've been working long hours, and that your judgment may have been impaired." "My judgment?" Brennan met his eyes. "She's building a defense, Mr. Morgan, and she's good at it. She's a corporate attorney. She knows how to spin a narrative." "So what?" She just gets away with this. I didn't say that. Brennan leaned forward. But I need more than your word against hers. I need evidence. Medical records, witnesses, something concrete. The nurses saw the bruises. Bruises can be explained away. Kids fall. They play rough. Unless Katherina tells us what happened or unless we find a pattern of documented abuse. Williams felt like the walls were closing in. So she has to say it? Yes. She's 9 years old. She's terrified, and she thinks this is somehow her fault. Brennan's expression softened just slightly. I know, and I'm sorry, but that's how the system works. Williams returned to Katherina's room, feeling hollowed out. She was awake now, sitting up slightly, picking at the edge of her blanket. When she saw him, her face brightened just a little. Daddy. Hey, baby. He sat down beside her, taking her hand. How are you feeling? Okay. But her eyes said otherwise. Williams hesitated. He didn't want to push her. Didn't want to force her to relive something that clearly hurt. But he needed to know. Katherina, sweetheart, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. She tensed. Did I do something wrong? No. God, no, baby. You didn't do anything wrong. He squeezed her hand gently. But I need to know. Has Brenda ever hurt you before? Katherina's eyes dropped. Silence. You can tell me. Promise. You're not in trouble. I just need to know the truth. Her lip trembled. She said, if I told you, you'd get mad at me. Williams's heart shattered. I would never be mad at you. Never. Tears spilled down Katherina's cheeks. She said you'd send me back. That you'd choose her. And I'd go back to the home and nobody would want me anymore. Williams pulled her into his arms, holding her as gently as he could, his own tears falling into her hair. Listen to me. I will never send you back. You are my daughter. You are mine, and I will choose you every single time. She sobbed against his chest, and slowly, haltingly, she began to speak. It started after you got married. She was nice before, but after, she changed. She'd grab my arms when you weren't looking, shake me, tell me I was embarrassing her. She said I didn't belong in your world, that people were laughing at you because of me. She'd make me skip meals, said I was getting too heavy. And she told me that if I ever told you, she'd make sure I'd never see you again. Every word was a knife. Williams felt like he was being torn apart from the inside. Why didn't you tell me, baby? Katherina looked up at him, her eyes red and swollen. Because I was scared you'd believe her. Williams held her until her sobs quieted, until her breathing steadied, until she finally fell asleep again, exhausted from the weight of finally telling the truth. Then he stood, kissed her forehead, and walked out into the hallway. He pulled out his phone, turned it back on. 17 missed calls. He ignored all of them and dialed his attorney. Jonathan, it's Williams. I need you to do something for me. Of course. What do you need? I need you to file for an emergency restraining order, and I need you to start divorce proceedings. There was a pause. Williams, are you sure? Williams looked back through the window at Katherina. Small, fragile, finally safe. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. That afternoon, Brenda's lawyer showed up at the hospital. Williams met him in the lobby. The man was polished, expensive suit, practiced smile. Mr. Morgan, my client would like to speak with you. No. She's devastated by this misunderstanding. It wasn't a misunderstanding. Mr. Morgan, surely you can see how this looks. You've been under tremendous stress. Your wife has been nothing but supportive. Your client tried to kill my daughter. The lawyer's smile faltered. That's a serious accusation. One that could have legal ramifications if you're not careful. William stepped closer. Tell Brenda she's not welcome at this hospital. She's not welcome in my home. And if she comes anywhere near my daughter again, I'll make sure she regrets it. The lawyer's jaw tightened. We'll be in touch. He turned and walked away. William stood there, fists clenched, heart pounding. For the first time in days, he felt something other than guilt. He felt rage. And he was going to use it. That night, William sat beside Katherina's bed again. She was asleep, brownie tucked under her arm. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You're making a mistake, Williams. I loved you. I loved her. You'll regret this. He blocked the number. Another text came through. She's poisoned you against me. Can't you see that? Blocked. Another. I did everything for you. Williams turned off his phone, and in the silence that followed, he made a promise. Not just to Katherina, to himself. He would never stop fighting for her. No matter what it cost. The hospital released Katherina 3 days later. Williams had arranged for a private security detail. He wasn't taking any chances. As they walked through the hospital lobby, Katherina's hand gripped his tightly, her eyes darting nervously at every stranger who passed. It's okay, Williams whispered. I've got you. She nodded but didn't let go. The car was waiting outside. Tinted windows, driver vetted personally by Williams's head of security. As they pulled away from the hospital, Katherina stared out the window silent. We're not going home, Williams said gently. Not yet. I've booked us a suite at the Grandview. Just for a few days until things settle. Is she going to be there? Katherina's voice was barely a whisper. No, baby. She's not allowed anywhere near you. I made sure of that. Katherina nodded again, but Williams saw the way her hands trembled in her lap, the way she kept glancing over her shoulder like she expected Brenda to appear at any moment. Hey! Williams reached over and took her hand. I need you to hear me. You are safe. I will not let anything happen to you. Do you believe me? Katherina looked at him, her eyes glassy. I'm trying to. Williams's chest ached. That's all I'm asking. The Grandview Hotel was one of the most exclusive in the city. Williams had stayed there countless times for business, but this time it wasn't about luxury. It was about distance, security, silence. The suite was spacious, 2 bedrooms, a sitting area, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Katherina walked in slowly, clutching Brownie, taking it all in. You can have whichever bedroom you want, Williams said. She chose the smaller one, the one closest to his. That night, Williams ordered room service. Katherina's favorite mac and cheese, apple slices, chocolate milk. She ate quietly, picking at her food. Not hungry. A little. You don't have to force it. She set down her fork. Daddy. Yeah, baby. Are people going to think I'm lying? Williams froze. Why would you think that? Because she's going to say I am. She always does. What do you mean? Katherina's voice dropped. Whenever I tried to tell you things, she'd say I was making it up. That I was dramatic. That I just wanted attention. Williams felt his blood turn to ice. When did she say that? Lots of times. Like, remember when I told you I fell off my bike? Yeah. I didn't fall. She pushed me. I tried to tell you, but she said I was lying. And you believed her. Williams couldn't breathe. Katherina, it's okay, Daddy. I know you didn't mean to. But it wasn't okay. None of this was okay. Williams knelt in front of her, taking her small hands in his. Listen to me. I believe you now, and I will never doubt you again. Do you hear me? She nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. I'm so sorry I didn't see it sooner. You see it now. Williams pulled her into his arms and held her like she was the only thing keeping him tethered to the earth. Because she was. The next morning, Williams's phone rang, Brenda's mother. He almost didn't answer, but something told him he needed to hear this. Hello, Patricia. Williams. Her voice was clipped, cold. We need to talk. I don't think we do. My daughter is devastated. She's been crying for days. She loves that child. Stop. Williams's voice was steel. I know what I saw. And I know what Katherina told me. So unless you're calling to apologize on Brenda's behalf, which I won't accept, we have nothing to discuss. You're being manipulated, Williams. That girl has always been troubled. Brenda tried to help her, tried to give her structure, and this is how she's repaid. Williams hung up. His hands were shaking. 30 seconds later, another call. Brenda's sister. He declined. A text came through. You're going to destroy her reputation over the lies of a child who's been in the system. Think about what you're doing. Williams blocked the number. But they kept coming. Brenda's college roommate, a family friend, someone from their country club. All of them with the same message. You're overreacting. Brenda would never. That child is troubled. Williams turned off his phone and sat in the silence of the hotel suite, his head in his hands. That afternoon, a knock came at the door. Williams checked the peephole hotel security. He opened the door cautiously. "Mr. Morgan, I'm sorry to disturb you, but there's a woman downstairs insisting she needs to see you. She says she's family." Williams's jaw tightened. "What's her name?" "Brenda Morgan. She's not allowed on this property. I made that very clear when I checked in." "Yes, sir. We've informed her, but she's refusing to leave. She's causing a scene." Williams glanced back at Katherina, who was coloring quietly on the floor. "Call the police. Have her removed." "Sir, she's claiming you've taken her stepdaughter without her consent. She has no legal rights to my daughter, and there's a restraining order being processed as we speak." The security guard nodded. "Understood. We'll handle it." He left. Williams closed the door and locked it. Katherina looked up. "Was that her?" "She's not coming up here. I promise." But 10 minutes later, Williams's phone, still off, began buzzing on the table. He turned it on. 23 missed calls. And one voicemail. Against his better judgment, he played it. Brenda's voice filled the room. Shaking, desperate, venomous. "You can't keep her from me, Williams. I have rights. I've been her mother for 3 years. You can't just erase me because of one misunderstanding. I'm filing for custody. I'm going to fight you. And when the courts hear how you've poisoned her against me, how you've manipulated her into lying, they'll see the truth. You think you're protecting her? You're destroying her." The message ended. Williams deleted it. But Katherina had heard. Her face was pale, her hands gripping Brownie so tightly her knuckles were white. "Can she do that? Can she take me?" Williams crossed the room and knelt in front of her. "No, she can't. You are my daughter legally, permanently. She has no claim to you. But what if the judge believes her?" "They won't." "How do you know?" "Because I'm going to make sure they hear the truth. From you, from the doctors, from everyone who saw what she did." Katherina's lip trembled. "I don't want to talk about it in front of people." "I know. And I'll be right there with you. Every second." She nodded, but the fear didn't leave her eyes. That night, Williams couldn't sleep. He sat by the window, staring out at the glittering city below, his mind racing. Brenda wasn't going to back down. She was going to fight. And she was going to use every weapon she had. Her family, her reputation, her legal expertise. She was going to paint him as unstable, Katherina as a liar, and herself as the victim. Williams's phone buzzed. A message from Detective Brennan. "We need to talk. Found something you need to see. Can you come to the station tomorrow?" Williams typed back. "What is it?" "Not over text. In person." Williams's heart pounded. "I'll be there." The next morning, Williams left Katherina with a trusted bodyguard at the hotel and went to the police station. Detective Brennan met him in a small interrogation room. She slid a tablet across the table. "We pulled Brenda's phone records and her internet search history." Williams looked down at the screen. His blood ran cold. "Search history 6 weeks ago. How to make a child's death look like natural causes. Symptoms of sudden childhood illness. Can dehydration cause fatal collapse in children? How to adjust oxygen levels without detection. Search history 3 weeks ago. Life insurance policies on adopted children. Legal rights of step-parents after divorce. Can adopted children be returned to state custody?" Williams felt like he was going to be sick. "She was planning this." Brennan nodded. "For weeks. Maybe longer. The collapse at school, we're investigating that now. It's possible she gave Katherina something to trigger it." Williams's hands clenched into fists. "She tried to kill her." "Yes. And now we have proof of intent." Brennan leaned forward. "Williams, this changes everything. We can charge her with attempted murder. But I need Katherina to testify, and I need you to be prepared for what that's going to mean." Williams met her eyes. "Whatever it takes." Williams sat across from Detective Brennan in stunned silence, the tablet still glowing between them with Brenda's search history. A digital confession of intent to murder. "How long?" His voice was low. Brennan scrolled through the records. "Based on what we found, at least 2 months. But there are signs it goes back further." She pulled up another file. "We also found deleted emails. Brenda was corresponding with someone, a life insurance agent. She was trying to take out a policy on Katherina. Williams felt the room tilt. On my daughter. A $2 million policy, listing herself as the beneficiary. That's not possible. She's not Katherina's legal guardian. She lied on the application. Claimed she'd legally adopted Katherina herself. The application was flagged and denied, but she tried 3 different companies. Williams couldn't speak. Brennan's voice softened. Williams, your wife didn't just resent Katherina. She saw her as an obstacle. And then she saw her as an opportunity. An opportunity to what? To cash in. Brennan slid a printed document across the table. This is Brenda's financial record from the past 3 years. She's been bleeding money. Williams scanned the page. Credit card debt, failed investments, a private loan taken out in her name. I don't understand. Brenda has her own career. She had a career. She was let go from her firm 8 months ago, for embezzlement. Williams's head snapped up. What? It was kept quiet. The firm didn't press charges. She agreed to pay restitution and leave quietly. But she's been in financial freefall ever since. She never told me. She was hiding it and she was desperate. Brennan leaned forward. Your wife married you for security, Williams. But when she realized you tied most of your estate planning around Katherina, that Katherina was your primary heir, she saw the writing on the wall. Williams felt sick. So she decided to get rid of her. Brennan nodded. If Katherina died, Brenda would be your next of kin. And in the event of your grief, your vulnerability, she'd have access to everything. Williams stood abruptly, pacing the small room. I need to see her. Who? Katherina. I need to go back to her. Williams, wait. She's been carrying this alone. All of it. And I need her to know that I know now. That I see it. Brennan stood. There's more. Williams stopped. What? Brennan hesitated. We interviewed some of Katherina's teachers and her school counselor. And Katherina's been seeing the counselor for the past year, voluntarily. Williams's heart sank. Why didn't anyone tell me? She asked them not to. She said it would make things worse at home. What did she tell them? Brennan pulled out another file. The counselor kept notes. She suspected abuse, but Katherina wouldn't confirm. She'd just say she was stressed or having trouble sleeping. Brennan read from the notes. Session 11. Katherina showed visible anxiety when asked about her stepmother. Deflected questions, showed signs of hypervigilance. Session 16. Katherina drew a picture during art therapy. She labeled it my family. She drew herself and her father. No one else. Session 23. Katherina disclosed that she tries to be invisible at home. When asked why, she said, "It's easier that way." Williams sank back into the chair, his head in his hands. She was screaming for help, and no one heard her. She was protecting you, Williams. Kids do that. They think if they're good enough, quiet enough, small enough, the pain will stop. Williams looked up, tears streaming down his face. I'm her father. I was supposed to protect her. You're protecting her now. Williams returned to the hotel in a daze. When he opened the door to the suite, Katherina was curled up on the couch reading a book. She looked up and her face brightened. Daddy. But when she saw his expression, her smile faded. What's wrong? Williams sat down beside her. Baby, I need to talk to you about something. She set the book down, her body already tensing. The police found some things on Brenda's computer. Things that show she was planning to hurt you for a long time. Katherina's eyes dropped. I know. Williams blinked. You know. I heard her once on the phone. She was talking to someone about money and she said she'd be better off if I wasn't around. Williams's breath caught. When was this? A few months ago. I was supposed to be asleep, but I got up to get water, and I heard her in your office. Why didn't you tell me? Katherina's lip trembled. Because I thought maybe she was right. Maybe you would be better off. I cost a lot of money, don't I? The school and the doctors and my clothes. Stop. Williams pulled her into his arms. You are not a burden. You are not an expense. You are my daughter. And there is nothing in this world more valuable to me than you. She sobbed into his chest. She made me feel like I didn't belong. Like I was ruining your life. You are my life. Williams held her tighter. And I need you to understand something. What she did, what she said, none of that was about you. It was about her. Her greed, her cruelty. You did nothing wrong. Then why does it hurt so much? Williams's voice broke. Because love isn't supposed to come with conditions, and she made you believe it did. They sat like that for a long time, holding each other in the quiet safety of the hotel room. Finally, Katherina pulled back, wiping her eyes. Daddy. Yeah, baby. If I have to talk to the judge, will you come with me every step of the way? Always. And if I get scared? Then you look at me. And you remember you are not alone. Not anymore. She nodded. And for the first time in days, William saw something fragile but real flicker in her eyes. Hope. That evening, Detective Brennan called again. We've got something else. What now? A witness. One of your housekeepers, Maria. She came forward this afternoon. Maria. She's worked for us for 2 years. She said she was terrified of Brenda. That Brenda threatened to have her deported if she ever said anything. Williams felt his stomach drop. Said anything about what? About the things she saw. Brennan paused. Williams, Maria witnessed Brenda locking Katherina in her room for hours, withholding meals, destroying her drawings. She even saw Brenda slap Katherina across the face once, on multiple occasions over the past year. Maria kept a journal. Dates, times, descriptions. She said she didn't know what to do. Brenda controlled everything in the house, and Maria was afraid for her family. Is she willing to testify? Yes. Now that Brenda's been arrested, she feels safe enough to come forward. Williams exhaled shakily. This is enough, isn't it? To convict her. It's strong. Combined with the search history, the financial motive, and Katherina's testimony, yes, we have a case. When's the arraignment? Tomorrow morning. You'll want to be there. That night, Williams lay awake in the dark. In the next room, Katherina was finally sleeping peacefully. He thought about all the moments he'd missed, the flinches, the silence, the forced smiles, the way Katherina would sometimes pause before entering a room like she was bracing herself. The way she'd apologize for things that didn't need apologies. The way she'd made herself small, invisible. He thought about Brenda's face that day in the hospital. Not the mask she wore in public, but the cold, hateful truth underneath. And he realized something that made his chest ache. He'd loved a ghost. The woman he thought he'd married had never existed. She'd been a performance, a calculated illusion designed to get close to his life, his wealth, his world. And Katherina, beautiful, gentle, innocent Katherina, had been the one to pay the price. But not anymore. William stood and walked quietly to Katherina's room. He opened the door just a crack. She was curled on her side, brownie tucked under her chin, her face soft and peaceful in sleep. He whispered into the darkness, I will spend the rest of my life making this right. I promise. The next morning, Williams and Katherina sat in the back of a courtroom as Brenda was brought in. She looked smaller, somehow diminished. Her designer clothes were gone, replaced by a standard jail uniform. Her hair, usually perfect, was pulled back in a plain ponytail. But her eyes, when they found Williams across the room, were still filled with that cold, calculating rage. Katherina gripped Williams's hand. I don't want to look at her. Then don't. Look at me. She did, and Williams held her gaze, steady and unbreakable. As the judge read the charges, attempted murder, child endangerment, assault. Brenda pleaded not guilty. Her lawyer stood and argued for bail, but the prosecutor countered with the evidence, the searches, the emails, the witness testimony. The judge denied bail. Brenda would remain in custody until trial. As she was let out, she turned one last time. Her eyes locked on Katherina and she mouthed 2 words. You'll pay. Katherina looked away. But Williams didn't. He stared Brenda down until she was gone. And when the doors closed behind her, he exhaled. It's over. Katherina looked up at him. Is it? Williams kissed the top of her head. The hard part is, now we get to heal. 2 weeks after the arraignment, Williams and Katherina moved into a new home. Not the penthouse. That place held too many ghosts. Instead, Williams bought a brownstone in a quiet neighborhood across town, tree-lined streets, a park 2 blocks away, a backyard with space for a garden. It was smaller, simpler, but it was theirs. On moving day, Katherina stood in the doorway of her new bedroom. Windows facing the garden, walls painted soft lavender at her request, bookshelves waiting to be filled. It's really mine. William stood beside her. Every inch of it. She stepped inside slowly, like she was afraid the room might disappear if she moved too fast. She set Brownie carefully on the bed. Then she turned to Williams, her eyes bright. Can we paint something on the wall? Like a tree or something? Williams smiled. We can paint whatever you want. Really? Really? Katherina bit her lip, thinking. Can we paint it together? Williams's throat tightened. I would love that. That afternoon they went to the hardware store. Katherina pushed the cart, her small hands gripping the handle, her eyes wide as she took in the rows of paint samples. Pick any colors you want, Williams said. She chose 5. Lavender, white, soft green, pale yellow, and gold. What are we painting? A tree, but not a regular tree. A magic one with stars in the branches. Williams grinned. A magic tree with stars. I like it. At the register, the cashier smiled at them. You two doing a project together? We're painting her room, Williams said, his hand resting gently on Katherina's shoulder. That's wonderful. You're lucky to have such a great dad, sweetheart. Katherina looked up at Williams, and for the first time in weeks she smiled, a real unguarded smile. I know. They spent the entire evening painting. Williams spread drop cloths across the floor. Katherina wore one of his old t-shirts, the sleeves rolled up, paint already smudged on her cheek. She stood on a stepladder, carefully tracing the outline of the tree trunk in soft green. Williams worked beside her, filling in the branches. A little to the left, Katherina instructed. Like this. Perfect. They worked in comfortable silence, the only sounds the soft brush of bristles and the distant hum of the city outside. After a while Katherina spoke. Daddy. Yeah, baby. Do you think I'll ever stop being scared? Williams set down his brush. Scared of what? That it'll happen again. That someone will pretend to love me and then change. Williams climbed down from his ladder and knelt beside hers. Come here. She climbed down and he pulled her into his lap. Katherina, listen to me. What Brenda did to you, that wasn't love. Real love doesn't hurt. It doesn't manipulate. It doesn't make you feel small. Then what does it do? It makes you feel safe, seen, worthy exactly as you are. Katherina rested her head against his chest. Is that how you feel about me? Every single day. She was quiet for a moment. I'm starting to believe you. Williams kissed the top of her head. Good. Because I'm never going to stop saying it. That night, Katherina had her first nightmare in the new house. Williams woke to the sound of her crying. He was in her room in seconds. She was sitting up in bed, clutching Brownie, her face streaked with tears. Hey, I'm here. Williams sat on the edge of the bed, pulling her close. She was here in my room, she said. She said I didn't deserve you. It was just a dream. Baby, she's not here. She can't get to you. But what if she does? What if she won't. I promise you she won't. Katherina's breathing was still shaky. Williams thought for a moment. Do you want me to stay with you tonight? She nodded, her grip on Brownie tightening. Okay, scoot over. Williams lay down beside her, and Katherina curled into his side, her head on his chest. He wrapped his arm around her, holding her gently. You're safe, Katherina. I've got you. Her breathing slowly evened out, and just before she fell asleep, she whispered, I love you, Daddy. Williams's eyes filled with tears. I love you too, baby. More than anything. The next morning, Williams made pancakes. Katherina sat at the kitchen island, her legs swinging, watching him flip them in the pan. You're really bad at this, she said, giggling as one pancake landed half on the stove. Hey, I'm trying. They're lopsided. Lopsided pancakes taste better. That's not true. Sure it is. It's a scientific fact. Katherina laughed. A real bright, beautiful sound that filled the entire kitchen. William stopped, spatula in hand, just to listen. What? She asked, noticing. Nothing. I love hearing you laugh. She smiled softer now. I forgot what it felt like. William set down the spatula and walked over to her. Then we're going to make sure you remember. Over the next few days they settled into a new rhythm. Williams cut back his hours at work, delegating more to his executive team. Every morning, he walked Katherina to the park. They'd sit on the swings talking about everything and nothing. What's your favorite color? Blue. What's yours? Purple. No, wait, yellow. Actually, I don't know. You're allowed to like all of them. Really? Really? One afternoon they baked cookies together. Katherina insisted on adding extra chocolate chips. The recipe says 1 cup, but more is better. I can't argue with that logic. They ate half the dough before it even made it to the oven. Katherina got flour in her hair. Williams got chocolate on his shirt. And they laughed until their stomachs hurt. That weekend, Williams took Katherina to the art museum. She'd never been before. She walked through the galleries in awe, stopping in front of a painting of a garden filled with flowers. It's so beautiful, she whispered. You want to try painting something like that? I'm not good at painting. Says who? Brenda, she said. My drawings were messy. Williams knelt down beside her. Brenda was wrong about a lot of things. And she was definitely wrong about that. He took her hand. Come on, let's go to the museum shop. I'm buying you a real art set. Really? Really? That night, Katherina sat at the kitchen table, her new paint spread out in front of her. William sat across from her, pretending to work on his laptop but really just watching her. She painted slowly, carefully. A tree with stars in the branches just like the one on her wall. When she finished, she held it up. What do you think? I think it's perfect. You're just saying that. I'm saying it because it's true. She looked at the painting, then back at him. Can we hang it up? Absolutely. Williams found a frame and together they hung it in the hallway, right where they both see it every day. Katherina stepped back, admiring it. It looks real. That's because it is real. You made it, and it's beautiful. She turned to him, her eyes shining. Thank you for believing in me. Williams pulled her into a hug. Always. 2 weeks later, Katherina's therapist called with an update. She's making incredible progress, Mr. Morgan. She's opening up more, smiling more. She even talked about the future yesterday. That's a huge step. That's wonderful. She credits you. She says she feels safe now. Williams's chest swelled. She's the strong one. You both are. That evening, Williams and Katherina planted flowers in the backyard. Sunflowers, daisies, tulips. Katherina dug small holes in the soil, carefully placing each bulb. Do you think they'll grow? I know they will. How? Because we're taking care of them. Just like I take care of you. She smiled, wiping dirt on her jeans. And I take care of you too. Yes, you do. They worked side by side until the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. Katherina sat back, surveying their work. I think this is my favorite place. The garden. No, here with you. Williams felt his throat tighten. Mine too, baby. That night, as Williams tucked Katherina into bed, she looked up at him. Daddy. Yeah. I'm not scared anymore. Williams smiled, brushing a curl from her forehead. I'm so proud of you. I'm proud of us. Me too. He kissed her forehead and stood to leave. Daddy. Yeah, baby. Can you leave the door open? Of course. And can you sing the song? The one you used to sing when I first came home. Williams's heart melted. He sat back down on the edge of her bed and began to sing softly, an old lullaby his own mother had sung to him. Katherina's eyes fluttered closed, a peaceful smile on her face. And just as Williams reached the last line, his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen. Unknown number. He ignored it. But then it buzzed again. Text message. You think you've won, but this isn't over. She'll never be yours. Williams's blood ran cold. He stepped into the hallway, his heart pounding. Another message came through. She doesn't belong in your world. And soon everyone will see that. Williams dialed Detective Brennan immediately. We have a problem. Detective Brennan arrived at the brownstone within the hour. Williams met her at the door, phone in hand, his face pale. How many messages? 7, all from different numbers. All saying the same thing. She doesn't belong with me, that I stole her, that I'll lose her. Brennan took the phone, scrolling through the texts. We'll trace these. But Williams, you need to prepare yourself. This could be anyone. Brenda's family, her friends, someone she paid, or Brenda herself. She's in custody. She doesn't have access to a phone. Then someone's doing this for her. Brennan's jaw tightened. We'll find out who. In the meantime, I'm stationing an officer outside your home, and I need you to keep Katherina close. Williams nodded, but his hands were shaking. She was just starting to feel safe. I know. I'm sorry. Williams didn't tell Katherina about the messages. Not yet. He didn't want to scare her. But the next morning when he walked her to school, he couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. He scanned the street. Parents dropping off kids, a jogger passing by, a car idling at the corner. Nothing seemed out of place, but the fear still crawled up his spine. Daddy, you okay? Katherina was looking up at him, her brow furrowed. Yeah, baby. I'm fine. You seem worried. Williams forced a smile. Just thinking about work stuff. She didn't look convinced, but she didn't push. At the school entrance, she hugged him tightly. I'll see you after school. I'll be right here. I promise. She nodded and disappeared through the doors. Williams stood there for a long moment, watching until she was out of sight. Then his phone buzzed. Another message. She looked happy today. Enjoy it while it lasts. Williams's heart stopped. He spun around, scanning the street again. Someone had just seen them. Someone was watching. Williams called Brennan immediately. They're here. Whoever's sending these, they're watching us. They just described Katherina. Where are you? Outside her school. Get inside now. I'm sending units. Williams ran back into the school, his pulse hammering. He found the principal. I need to see my daughter right now. Mr. Morgan, classes have just started. Someone is threatening her. I need to see her now. The principal's face went pale. Follow me. Katherina was pulled out of her classroom, confused and frightened. Daddy, what's wrong? Williams knelt down, gripping her shoulders gently. Everything's okay, but we need to go home. Why? Did I do something? No, baby. You didn't do anything. I just need you with me right now. Her eyes filled with fear. Is it her? Is Brenda? She's still locked up. But someone is bothering us, and I need to keep you safe. Katherina's face crumpled. I thought it was over. Williams pulled her into his arms. It will be. Promise. But right now, I need you to trust me. She nodded against his chest. I trust you. They went home under police escort. 2 patrol cars followed them. An officer stood outside the brownstone. Inside, Williams locked every door, checked every window. Katherina sat on the couch, clutching Brownie, her eyes wide. Daddy, you're scaring me. Williams sat down beside her. I'm sorry. I don't mean to. I need to make sure you're safe. Who's doing this? I don't know yet. But the police are going to find out. What if they don't? Williams took her hands. They will. And until they do, I'm not leaving your side. That afternoon, Brennan called with an update. We traced one of the numbers. It's registered to a burner phone, but we tracked its location. Where? 3 blocks from Katherina's school. Williams felt sick. They were right there. We're pulling surveillance footage now. We'll find them. But 2 hours later, Brennan called again, her voice tight. Williams, we have a problem. What? The phone was found in a trash can, wiped clean. Whoever's doing this knows what they're doing. So we have nothing. We have the texts. We have the timeline. But we don't have a suspect. Williams sank into a chair. What am I supposed to do? Keep her close. Stay vigilant. We're working every angle. That night, Katherina couldn't sleep. She came into Williams's room at midnight, tears streaming down her face. I can't stop thinking about it. Williams pulled back the covers. Come here. She climbed into bed beside him, and he wrapped his arms around her. What if they take me away from you? That's not going to happen. But what if they try? Then I'll fight with everything I have. She was quiet for a moment. I don't want to be scared anymore. I know, baby. But I am. Williams held her tighter. So am I. She looked up at him, surprised. You are? Yeah, because I love you so much. The thought of anything happening to you terrifies me. But you're always so brave. Being brave doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you do what you have to do, even when you are. Katherina rested her head against his chest. Then we'll be brave together. Deal. The next morning, Williams woke to his phone ringing. Brennan. We got a hit. Brenda made a call from jail yesterday. Williams sat up. To who? Her sister, Victoria. Williams's stomach dropped. Victoria, Brenda's older sister. Cold, calculating, fiercely protective of Brenda. What did they talk about? The call was monitored, but it was coded. Brenda said something about fixing the mistake and setting things right. You think Victoria's the one sending the messages? We're bringing her in for questioning. When? Now. 3 hours later, Brennan called again. Victoria lawyered up immediately. Denied everything. But Williams, we found something in her car. What? Photos of Katherina, at school, at the park, at your house. Williams felt his knees buckle. She's been stalking her. Yes. And we found a journal. In it, she wrote about how Katherina destroyed Brenda's life, and how justice needed to be served. Williams couldn't breathe. Is she in custody? Yes. We arrested her an hour ago. Stalking, harassment, and conspiracy. Williams exhaled shakily. So it's over. Brennan hesitated. Williams, there's something else. What? In the journal, Victoria wrote about a plan. She said she was going to prove Katherina doesn't belong. What does that mean? We're still trying to figure it out. But Williams, she contacted Child Protective Services. Williams's blood turned to ice. What? She filed a false report claiming you're an unfit parent, that Katherina is unsafe in your care. That's insane. I know. But CPS is required to investigate every claim. They're sending someone to your home tomorrow. Williams felt the world tilt. They're going to take her. No. Not if you cooperate. Not if you show them the truth. And if they don't believe me? Brennan's silence said everything. Williams hung up and sank onto the floor, his head in his hands. Everything they'd built, the safety, the trust, the healing, it was all crumbling. Katherina appeared in the doorway. Daddy. He looked up and she saw the tears on his face. Her face went pale. What happened? Williams tried to speak, but the words wouldn't come. Katherina crossed the room and knelt in front of him. Daddy, talk to me. Someone called the people who decide if kids are safe. And they're coming here tomorrow. Katherina's eyes went wide. Are they going to take me away? No. But what if they do? Williams grabbed her hands. I won't let them. You can't stop them if they want to. I will find a way. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I don't want to leave you. You won't. You don't know that, Daddy. I can't go back. I can't. Her voice broke into sobs, and Williams pulled her into his arms. You are not going anywhere. Do you hear me? I am your father, and I will fight for you until I have nothing left. But even as he said the words, fear gnawed at him. What if it wasn't enough? That night, Katherina refused to sleep. She sat on Williams's bed, knees pulled to her chest, staring at the wall. What if they don't believe you? They will. But what if they think I'm better off somewhere else? There is nowhere better. You belong here with me. She looked at him, her eyes red and swollen. Do you promise? Williams took her face in his hands. I promise. On everything I am, you are my daughter, and no one is taking you from me. She nodded, but the fear didn't leave her eyes. And as Williams lay awake that night, listening to Katherina's quiet, uneven breathing beside him, he felt something he hadn't felt since the day in the hospital. Helplessness. He had money, power, resources, but none of it mattered if the system decided he wasn't enough. And the thought of losing her, of watching her be taken away, scared and crying, believing he'd failed her, it was unbearable. Williams closed his eyes and whispered into the darkness, Please don't let them take her from me. Outside, the wind rattled the windows, and somewhere in the night, the fight for Katherina's future was only just beginning. The CPS investigator arrived at 9 a.m. sharp. Her name was Mrs. Diane Olai, mid-50s, gray suit, kind eyes that had seen too much. She carried a leather folder and a quiet authority that filled the room the moment she stepped inside. Williams met her at the door, his hand trembling slightly as they shook. Mr. Morgan. Thank you for accommodating us on short notice. Of course. And this must be Katherina. Katherina stood behind Williams, gripping Brownie with both hands, her eyes locked on the floor. "Hi, sweetheart," Mrs. Olai said gently. "I'm Diane. I'm here to make sure you're happy and safe. Is that okay?" Katherina nodded but didn't speak. Williams placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We're ready to answer any questions you have." Mrs. Olai smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Good. Let's sit down." They gathered in the living room. Mrs. Olai opened her folder and pulled out a legal pad. "Mr. Morgan, I want to start by saying this is not an adversarial process. My only concern is Katherina's well-being. I understand. I've reviewed the report filed against you. The allegations are serious." Williams's jaw clenched. "They're also false. Whoever filed that report is lying. We'll get to that. But first I need to hear from both of you." She turned to Katherina. "Sweetheart, can you tell me a little about your home? Do you feel safe here?" Katherina's fingers tightened around Brownie. She glanced at Williams. He gave her a small, encouraging nod. "Yes," she whispered. "I feel safe." "That's good. And your dad? Does he take care of you?" "Yes." "Does he ever yell at you or hurt you?" "No. Never." "What about when he's upset? How does he act?" Katherina's voice was small but steady. "He talks to me. He asks if I'm okay. He listens." Mrs. Olai made a note. "And before you lived here, when you lived in your old home with your dad and his wife, did you feel safe then?" Katherina's face went pale. Williams leaned forward. "Mrs. Olai, my daughter has been through significant trauma related to my ex-wife. She's currently in therapy." "I understand, Mr. Morgan. But I need to hear from Katherina." She turned back to the little girl. "Katherina, I know this is hard, but I need you to be honest with me. Did your stepmother ever hurt you?" Tears welled in Katherina's eyes. She looked at Williams, then back at Mrs. Olai. "Yes. Can you tell me how?" Katherina's voice cracked. She grabbed me, shook me, she told me I didn't belong. She locked me in my room and she wouldn't let me eat sometimes." Mrs. Olai's pen paused. "And did you tell your father about this?" "I tried. But I was scared." "Scared of what?" "That he'd believe her instead of me. That he'd send me away." Mrs. Olai's expression softened. "But he didn't send you away, did he?" Katherina shook her head. "No. He saved me." Williams felt his throat tighten. "And now," Mrs. Olai asked gently, "do you want to stay here with your dad?" Katherina's voice was fierce despite the tears. "Yes. He's my dad. This is my home, and nobody should take me away from him." Mrs. Olai turned to Williams. "Mr. Morgan, I need to ask, are you aware of the accusations made in the report filed against you? I was told someone claimed I'm unfit, but I don't know the specifics." Mrs. Olai flipped a page. "The report claims you are emotionally unstable, financially exploiting Katherina, and that you adopted her for publicity purposes." Williams felt his face flush with anger. "That's absurd. Katherina is my daughter. I adopted her because I love her. Everything I've done has been for her." The report also claims Katherina has been isolated, withdrawn from social activities, and shows signs of neglect. "That's a lie." "Is it?" Williams blinked. "What?" "Mr. Morgan, according to school records, Katherina missed 15 days last semester. She was removed from her after-school art program, and her teachers noted she seemed anxious and distracted." Williams's heart sank. "That was because of Brenda. My ex-wife was emotionally abusing her. Katherina was terrified. But you didn't report it." "I didn't know the full extent until she nearly died." The words landed like a slap. Williams stared at Mrs. Olai, his chest heaving. "I failed to see what was happening. I admit that. But I see it now. And I've done everything in my power to protect her since." Mrs. Olai studied him for a long moment. "Mr. Morgan, loving a child isn't always enough. You have to be present, aware, vigilant." "I know that. And I am now. Are you? Or are you overcompensating out of guilt?" Williams felt the words cut deep, because part of him feared she was right. Mrs. Olai closed her folder. "I'm going to need some time to review everything: medical records, therapy notes, police reports. I'll also be speaking with Katherina's school and therapist. How long will that take? A few days, maybe a week. And in the meantime, Katherina stays with you. But if I find any reason to believe she's in danger, emotionally, physically, or otherwise, I will remove her immediately. Williams's blood ran cold. She's not in danger. That's what I'm here to determine. Mrs. Olai stood. Thank you both for your time. She looked at Katherina. Sweetheart, if you ever need to talk to me about anything, here's my card. You can call me anytime, okay? Katherina took the card with shaking hands. Okay. Mrs. Olai gave Williams a long measuring look. I'll be in touch. And then she was gone. The moment the door closed, Katherina burst into tears. She didn't believe us. Williams pulled her into his arms. She's just doing her job, baby. She thinks you're a bad dad. No, she doesn't. She does, she said. She said loving me isn't enough. Williams held her tighter. Katherina, listen to me. I don't care what she thinks. I know the truth. You know the truth. And that's what matters. But what if they take me anyway? Williams pulled back, looking her in the eyes. Then I will fight. I will go to court. I will stand in front of a judge and tell them that you are my daughter, and I will do whatever it takes to bring you home. You promise? I swear it. That night, Williams couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. He sat in the dark living room, staring at the magic tree Katherina had painted, now hanging on the wall. His phone buzzed. A message from his attorney, Jonathan. Heard about the CPS visit. We need to prepare for the worst. If they recommend removal, we go to court immediately. I'll start filing paperwork. Williams stared at the word removal. The thought of Katherina being taken, placed in a temporary home, surrounded by strangers, thinking he'd abandoned her, was unbearable. He stood and walked to Katherina's room. She was asleep, brownie tucked under her chin, her face peaceful for the first time all day. Williams knelt beside her bed and whispered, I will not lose you. I don't care what I have to do. You are mine and I am yours, and nothing will change that. 2 days later, Mrs. Olai called. Mr. Morgan, I've completed my review. Williams's heart hammered. And I spoke with Katherina's therapist. She confirmed that Katherina has made significant progress since moving in with you. She feels safe, loved, and supported. Williams exhaled shakily. That's good. I also reviewed the police reports regarding your ex-wife. The evidence is overwhelming. So you believe us? Yes. I believe you're doing your best. But Mr. Morgan, I need you to understand something. What? Katherina has been through unimaginable trauma. And trauma doesn't just go away because the threat is gone. She's going to need consistent therapy, stability, and patience. I know. And she's going to need you to forgive yourself. Williams's breath caught. What? You're carrying guilt, Mr. Morgan. I can see it. And so can she. And as long as you're punishing yourself, she'll believe she's the reason. Williams felt tears sting his eyes. I should have seen it sooner. Maybe. But you see it now. And you're showing up. That's what matters. There was a pause. Mr. Morgan, I'm closing the case. Katherina stays with you. Williams nearly collapsed with relief. Thank you. Don't thank me. Thank that brave little girl in there. She fought for you just as hard as you fought for her. Williams hung up and walked into the kitchen where Katherina was coloring. She looked up. Who was that? Williams knelt in front of her. That was Mrs. Olai. Katherina's face went pale. And Williams smiled, tears streaming down his face. You're staying. You're staying with me forever. Katherina dropped her crayon and threw her arms around his neck, sobbing. I was so scared. I know, baby. Me too. But we did it. We did. She pulled back, looking at him with red, swollen eyes. Daddy. Yeah. I love you. Williams kissed her forehead. I love you too. More than anything in this world. That evening they sat together in the backyard, watching the flowers they planted begin to bloom. Katherina leaned against Williams's shoulder. Do you think we're going to be okay? Williams wrapped his arm around her. I know we are. How? Because we have each other. And that's all we need. She smiled, and for the first time in a long time, Williams felt something he'd almost forgotten. Peace. 6 months later, the courtroom was packed. Williams sat in the front row, his hand resting protectively on Katherina's shoulder. She was dressed in a soft blue dress, her hair pulled back in a neat ponytail, brownie tucked safely in her backpack. She looked older, somehow stronger. Across the aisle, Brenda sat in an orange jumpsuit, her face drawn and pale, flanked by 2 guards. She didn't look at Williams, didn't look at Katherina, just stared straight ahead, her jaw tight, her hands cuffed in her lap. The judge entered. All rise. Everyone stood. The trial had lasted 3 weeks. Testimony from doctors, nurses, Detective Brennan, Maria the housekeeper, Katherina's therapist, and finally Katherina herself. Williams would never forget that day. The way she'd walked to the witness stand, small but steady, and told the truth in front of a room full of strangers. The way her voice had shaken but never broken. The way she'd looked at Brenda, no longer with fear, but with something else, pity. And when the defense attorney had tried to twist her words, tried to suggest she was confused or lying, Katherina had looked him straight in the eye and said, "I know what happened to me, and I'm not lying." The courtroom had gone silent, and Williams had never been more proud. Now the judge shuffled papers and looked down at Brenda. "Mrs. Brenda Morgan, you have been found guilty on all counts. Attempted murder, child endangerment, conspiracy, and assault." Brenda's lawyer stood. "Your Honor, we ask for leniency. My client has no prior criminal record." "Your client attempted to murder a child," the judge said, her voice cold. "A child she was supposed to protect." Brenda's face crumpled. The judge continued. "The evidence presented in this case is overwhelming. The premeditation, the cruelty, the manipulation. You saw this innocent child not as a human being, but as an obstacle to your greed. And when your husband chose to love her, you tried to erase her." The judge leaned forward. "There is no place in our society for someone who preys on the vulnerable, especially a child. Brenda Morgan, I hereby sentence you to 20 years in state prison with no possibility of parole for 15 years. Gasps echoed through the courtroom. Brenda's head dropped. Her shoulders shook. But Williams felt no satisfaction, only relief. As they led Brenda away, she turned just once and looked at Katherina. Her lips moved, forming silent words. "I'm sorry." But Katherina didn't react. She just turned away, leaning into Williams's side. "Can we go home now?" Williams kissed the top of her head. "Yeah, baby. Let's go home." Outside the courthouse, the sun was shining. Reporters crowded the steps, shouting questions, but Williams ignored them. He held Katherina's hand tightly as they walked to the car, his security team clearing a path. Once inside, Katherina exhaled shakily. "Is it really over?" Williams buckled her seatbelt and looked her in the eyes. "It's really over." She nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. "I thought I'd feel happier." "What do you feel?" "Tired." Williams smiled gently. "That's okay. You've been so strong for so long. You're allowed to be tired. Can we just go home and do nothing?" "Absolutely." But when they pulled up to the brownstone, Katherina gasped. The front yard was filled with people. Detective Brennan, Maria, Katherina's therapist Dr. Langston, her teacher Miss Jacobs, even some kids from school. And strung across the porch was a huge banner. "Welcome home, Katherina. We love you." Katherina's hands flew to her mouth. "Daddy, what is this?" Williams grinned. "A celebration for the bravest girl I know." Tears streamed down her face as she opened the door and stepped out. Everyone clapped. Miss Jacobs rushed forward and hugged her. "We're so proud of you, sweetheart." Maria was crying, her hands clasped together. "You are so strong, Mija. So strong." Detective Brennan knelt down. "You did good, kid. Real good." Katherina was overwhelmed, smiling and crying at the same time. She turned to Williams. "Did you plan this?" "Maybe." She threw her arms around him. "Thank you. You deserve it." The celebration was small but filled with love, cake, laughter, music. Katherina ran around the backyard with the kids from school, playing tag, her laughter ringing out like bells. William stood on the porch watching her, his chest full. Dr. Langston approached, holding a cup of lemonade. "She's come a long way." "She has." "So have you." Williams looked at her. "What do you mean?" "When I first met you, you were drowning in guilt. You could barely look at yourself in the mirror." Williams nodded. I felt like I'd failed her. But you didn't. You saved her. And more importantly, you showed up every day after. You didn't run from the hard stuff. You faced it with her. Dr. Langston smiled. That's what real love looks like. Williams's throat tightened. I just want her to be happy. Look at her. Williams turned. Katherina was spinning in circles, arms outstretched, her face tilted toward the sky, pure joy radiating from her. She is happy, Dr. Langston said. Because of you. Later that evening, after everyone had gone home, Williams and Katherina sat on the back porch steps, watching the fireflies dance in the garden. Daddy. Yeah, baby. Do you think Mom, my real mom, would be proud of me? Williams's heart broke and healed at the same time. I think she'd be so proud she'd be bursting. And I think she's watching over you every single day. You really think so? I know so. Katherina rested her head on his shoulder. I miss her sometimes, even though I don't really remember her. That's okay. You're allowed to miss her. But I'm glad I have you. Williams wrapped his arm around her. I'm glad I have you too. They sat in silence for a while, the warm night wrapping around them like a blanket. Then Katherina spoke again. Daddy. Yeah. When I grow up, I want to help kids like me. Kids who are scared and don't have anyone. Williams looked down at her, his eyes shining. You're going to be amazing at that. You think so? I know so. Because you know what it feels like, and you know how to be brave. She smiled. I learned from you. No, baby. I learned from you. 1 year later, William stood in the doorway of Katherina's room, watching her pack her backpack for school. She was 10 now, taller, confident. She wore her hair in 2 braids, and her smile came easily. Ready, Daddy? Almost. Come here for a second. She walked over, curious. Williams pulled a small box from his pocket. I got you something. What is it? Open it. She lifted the lid. Inside was a delicate silver bracelet engraved with 2 words, Forever Family. Katherina's eyes filled with tears. Daddy, I wanted you to have something you could wear every day. A reminder that no matter what happens, no matter where you go, you are loved. You are mine. And nothing will ever change that. She threw her arms around his neck, sobbing. I love it. I love you. I love you too, baby. Always. He fastened the bracelet around her wrist, and she held it up, watching it catch the light. I'm never taking it off. Good. That afternoon, William stood outside Katherina's school, waiting for her. Other parents milled around, chatting, but Williams just watched the doors, waiting for that familiar face. And then there she was, running toward him, backpack bouncing, braids flying, a huge smile on her face. Daddy! She crashed into him, and he lifted her off the ground, spinning her once before setting her down. How was school? Amazing. I got 100 on my math test. And Miss Jacobs said my essay was the best in the class. That's my girl. She grabbed his hand and they started walking home. Can we stop at the park? Of course. They walked side by side, Katherina chattering away about her day, Williams listening to every word. And as they reached the park, Katherina ran ahead to the swings. Williams sat on a bench, watching her, and he thought about the day he'd walked into that hospital room and seen Brenda's hands on the oxygen mask. The day his world had shattered. The day everything had changed. He'd thought in that moment that he'd lost everything. But he'd been wrong. He hadn't lost anything. He'd found something, the truth, the strength to fight, and the love that had been there all along, just waiting to be protected. Katherina ran back to him, breathless and laughing. Push me on the swings? Always. As he pushed her higher and higher, her laughter filling the air, Williams felt something settle deep in his chest. Peace. Gratitude. Joy. Because this was what family looked like. Not perfect. Not without scars. But real, built on love, trust, and the choice to show up. Every single day. No matter what. Katherina looked back at him, her eyes sparkling. Higher, Daddy. Williams laughed. You got it, baby. And as the sun set behind them, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink, Williams whispered a silent thank you, to the universe, to God, to whatever force had let him see the truth just in time. Because sometimes love isn't about being perfect. It's about being present and fighting every single day for the people who matter most. If this story touched your heart, Drop a comment on Once Upon a Voice and tell me, what does family mean to you? Because family isn't always about blood. It's about who shows up, who fights for you, and who chooses to love you every single day. Hit that subscribe button on Once Upon a Voice, and let's keep telling stories that matter. Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you love this story, you will surely enjoy the next one. It's crazier and more intriguing than you can ever imagine. So do check it out. Click on the image showing on your screen right now to watch the next one.